My name is Brian, and welcome back to Desert Theory. Well, last week we told you that we were going to put the Class 5 in the shop, we were going to put the Class 1 in the barn, we were going to park that, and we were going to work on this so it was ready to get sold. But we just got a brand new Jimco to us, and we had to find a reason to bring it back out. So we thought, what better than a side-by-side comparison and try and help you guys understand why we're so excited about this, this jump up that we get to do. I guess for start, Class 5 compared to a Class 1. We'll go over it kind of looking at it more here in a second, but Class 5 has to maintain the shape of a Baja Bug. Limited on wheelbase to 105 inches. Has to be a beam front end. Limited motor to a CC, so we're a 4-cylinder. Class 1, the only rules with the Class 1 are buggy, open wheel. It can be a V8, it can be mid-engine, front engine, it doesn't matter. So there's a huge advantage just right off the bat. Second one is where we race in northern Nevada, the Vora and Boar, the series we race in. The car counts are down a little bit. So it's not like a Southern California race where there might be 25 Class 5 bugs and you're all racing against each other. We go there, we're the only Class 5. So when you go there, you're only Class 5, you don't want to race that. So we end up bouncing around, and it usually ends up to where we race in a pro class. So they put all of us, they bump up, and we race the 3 or 4 Class 1s, maybe even a truck or 2, and they put us in a pro class, and all of a sudden we're racing against the big cars in our little car. So it's pretty exciting to think that we are going to go to a race and be able to start with similar equipment than everybody else is running. So that's super exciting for us. Can't wait for that. Okay, so we're going to have Kelly help us kind of go through these and just kind of do some comparisons side by side. This one we're looking at it here. So
yeah. So first thing, we'll kind of look at this new car. First thing right off the bat, you're going to notice A-arm suspension. Okay, so it has dual A-arms, upper and lower A-arms, huge shocks, 4 bypass king shocks. We're looking at about twice as much suspension travel as the car that we were using before. This is our other car. This has a more traditional beam style front end. That's this tube that goes across there. The trailing arms, it's a totally different design than the A-arm we were just looking at. Smaller shocks, about 13, 14 inches of wheel travel. Obviously tires, quite a bit different. 33-inch tires, these are 35s, and they're also a lot wider. So you're gonna go over the ground a little bit easier.
I think one thing to notice here is just the sag. So when this drops all the way out, that would be come tight. So
yeah. So this is a limit strap. When this car comes up in the air, these tires go down and this strap gets tight. This is sitting in about the middle of the height. So you can see the ground clearance down there. When this thing comes up off the ground, there's a lot more clearance under the car.
And also those, like you said, those tires will fall down into a hole when you're going over it, keeping it smoother. You see this is on the stops already. Now, once the shocks get warmed up and you get going down the road, we lose a little bit of our travel, which we don't have a bunch of, but there's just a lot less sag.
Yeah, why don't you come back here to the back, Brian, and we can kind of show them some of the differences in the rear of the car. So if you're looking at the rear suspension on this car, they have the same basic design, trailing arm design. Everything here is bigger. These are big axles, huge. It's a special alloy that you can get this long axle to hold up in the desert racing environment where you're catching air, tire comes off the ground, hits the ground. There's a lot of shock loading going on. Also, this transmission, it's probably twice as robust as our old transmission, which this will allow us to go through the bumps a lot faster, you know, the rugged terrain. Everything's more heavy duty. If you look over here, you can see the size of this axle is almost half, it's about half the size in the diameter. And
we actually have one on the other side here. We'll show you. So this is the broken CV and axle, but it worked really good to show in comparison how much bigger the new axle is.
Yeah, so here's our new car, and here's our other car, the 5 car here that we're looking at. You can also look at the length. Look at the difference in the length, Brian.
Yeah, so that just, when you look at the back of our new car, you see how much wider stance it has. So that longer the longer axles allows the CV and everything to move less and more wheel travel.
Yeah, with the same angle of the CV joint will give you more wheel travel if that axle's longer.
Let's talk just for a second about the mid-engine and why we think that's going to be such an advantage in a race, a technical race that's mainly what we race in Northern Nevada.
Yeah, so with a mid-engine car, you're putting your weight closer to the center of the car. Ideally, you would have your car set up with a 50-50 weight balance. So that means 50% of the weight's on the front wheels and 50% is in the rear. And that car is perfectly balanced. So when you catch air and you're airborne, the car flies flat. It's not rear heavy, it's not nose heavy, trying to nose dive or running the front end high if you get in the air. Also helps with cornering. If you put all your weight back here, you know, it becomes much more difficult for the front tires to steer the car.
One of the other things that's really nice about this car is if or when we get a flat tire with this car, our spare is right here. It's really easy to get to. On our old car, we didn't want to put the weight in the back. We didn't want to have it somewhere up there. So it's underneath the front hood. So it's unpin these, pull the whole hood off, and then jump in there. So just much quicker for a tire change with the new car. So as you can tell, we're both pretty excited about this car, but like we said last episode, I think we better put this away and get to working on the Class 5 a little bit tonight and ready to sell. Okay. We finally got that axle out of there. Poor old broken CV over here. So we're gonna get to working on touching up some of those areas we want to get painted. A bit of a change of plan. We were planning on taking this all to the machine shop where Kelly works, and we were gonna do all of this work there. We think we're gonna blow this all apart now, take just the trailing arm over there after we get this all torn apart.
We're putting on some etching primer for these bare metal spots. We're just brushing it on because it's less messy than spraying, and just trying to get something for the bare metal so the new paint can adhere to the bare metal and wash underneath it. You know? Even a pressure washer. Forklift and pick up the back of it, you know. Pretty high.
Okay, so what we have here is we have the shocks off. We have the hub mostly apart. Now this arm's just hanging down here, so we got to get this brake line pulled apart. And then just get the trailing arm off these last couple bolts. So we'll have that apart. We have one that doesn't roll, a non-roller. A little sad. Okay, pretty successful night. We have the rear trailing arm off. It's gonna be loaded in the back of Kelly's pickups going to the machine shop. We got some paint down. Got paint up front. But it's 11 o'clock. We're going home and going to bed. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, please.